Hello, hello, Atlanta friends. How to sell a dated home in Atlanta, Georgia, south of I-20. What used to work is not going to work today in 2026. And that's what we're talking about. What can you do? Because if any of these things apply to you, maybe you don't want to really sell your house. Just saying. Also, my forehead looks huge. Anywho, number one, you can sell homes that are dated. And that's kind of the biggest challenge right now facing people who are south of I-20. It's just a different rule book. Like, especially back 21, 22. Listen, you didn't even have to put a sign outside and the house would be gone. That is not the market we're in today. We're in, well, a normal market. And so there's some concerns and some things that we need to think about as home sellers. So here are the 5 things that used to work that do not work anymore. Starting with number 1, we'll price it like it's updated and let buyers negotiate the updates. Okay. That used to work when buyers felt like they were just lucky to get something. And yes, there is still a little bit of a housing shortage, but because of interest rates and other economic issues and concerns, it's actually a much more even market in most of Atlanta now. And so the number of buyers versus sellers is healthier, let's just say. And I have another video where I talk about that. And on my Instagram, I talk about what used to work. Like, people used to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just lucky to get something. So buyers would be like, oh, I'll figure it out. No. In 2026, nobody is figuring it out. Now, buyers are literally, I kid you not, we're thinking, if I see that maybe you as the seller says to me, that's going to cost $1,000 to repair. That's the estimate that I got. I'm the buyer. I'm thinking double that because of the what ifs, because of this might go wrong. What if I don't like the contractor you used? What if by the time I get around to it? And people are seeing all of those as reasons why they don't want to purchase a property, why they don't want to do it. So they just don't want surprises, and people don't walk in thinking they're going to negotiate. That's not, unfortunately, how most people purchase property in this country, at least. And so they don't think like accountants. They negotiate like humans who are worn out, people who are tired. They are not interested anymore in like figuring it out. So that's what's going to walk away. So this is the important part. Here's what works instead. You want your messaging to talk about the things that are good. So maybe, the roof, the HVAC, water heater, things like that, those have been updated recently. That's what you want to point to, because that's the stuff that can be really scary for people. Solid bones, those kinds of words are good because people are like, okay, so the big stuff is not a big deal. I can deal with the fact that I hate the carpet, right? So it's all in the spin. Renovation ready canvas. I like that phrase. It sounds fancy. But what it does is it just kind of lets people know what they're walking into ahead of time. And so people who show up are people who are actually have a realistic expectation of what they're going to get from your property. So that's also super, super important. Oh, number 2, as is means as is. No repairs, no credits, no questions. That used to work when you had 5 people waiting behind this first person. That's no longer the case. So what you're going to have now is people are going to think something's wrong. It's not even worth it. I don't want to deal with that. So kind of like what I was saying with number 1 is you have to have a very clean as is approach. So the thing I talk about all the time ad nauseum, you have to get your own inspection before you list your property. Let me say that again slowly. You have to pay for an inspection before you list your property. And I say that because now, when you say as is, a potential buyer knows what as is means, and they are more likely to take your property seriously. And that is important because you don't want to be hemming and hawing, going back and forth. Nobody wants to. You don't want to. They don't want to. Fine. So there's something that a realtor should have you do the same time you sign a listing agreement is a property disclosure, which means you're going through every little feature in the house and you are sitting down and you're like, okay, this is how old that is. I've lived here 8 years. I ain't never changed the roof, so who knows how old the roof is. like being very honest and going through that stuff, because it saves so much heartache later on. And you can also offer a predefined credit. So for example, I had a negotiation the other day where what we agreed to is that the seller was willing to pay X amount. I'm going to tell you, okay, let's say $8,000. They're willing to pay $8,000 in closing costs, with the caveat that based on their pre-inspection and the buyer choosing to do their own inspection, the buyer would reduce how much closing costs they're getting from the seller by how much money they're going to ask for the seller to put towards repairs. So let me math that out for you, because I don't know if that made sense. So visuals, right? Okay. So that means seller was offering $8,000 in closing costs. Buyer does their own inspection and comes back, and maybe based on whatever they want, $1,500 worth of repairs prior to closing. So $8K minus $1,500 equals $6,500. So then they get $6,500 towards closing costs, right? So I, as your agent, I can help you with that. Your agent can help you figure that out so that you're not giving away more money than you're comfortable giving, but at the same time, you don't seem inflexible to your buyer. So there are ways around this. But again, a lot of this verbiage you want to get started in the very beginning of listing your property so that you're not on the back foot later, right? So that's important. Y'all know I always got notes. So note number 3. Number 3, a deep clean is enough. Staging is for Buckhead. They're so cute. That used to work when buyers are more forgiving, because again, they were fighting over what was there. Nobody's fighting anymore. We're all very peaceful now. We just walk away. And so therefore, you need to give your house the same way that that luxury property needs to give direction. You also need to give direction. And I mean, all right, so I am from the Caribbean. I'm Jamaican, right? I think I've talked about this before. My family's Jamaican. I spent my childhood in Jamaica. I love my people. But sometimes, and this is more all respect to all my aunties, listen, I love you. Send some food. Thank you. But sometimes your house just got too much stuff. And it's lovely. This is not anything against stuff in your house, but you maybe need to get rid of some stuff and scale back, because people need to see themselves in your property. I cannot say this enough. People need to be able to see themselves in the property. And if it looks like you, that's going to be challenging, because all they're going to see is you and not them. And here's the thing. Neither of us has a crystal ball. I have an idea of who the general type of individual or demographic may be who'd be interested in your property, but I can't necessarily predict that that's 110% who it's going to be. So we need to make it where it is generally ambiguous and neutral enough that it's open to whomever the listing gets their interest. So that's really, really important. So now, I'm not saying you got to redo your floors and do everything, but like just, again, scaling things back. Light staging. So maybe, listen, a couple new rugs change your whole life. Decluttering, maybe the 1987 bedspreads, we might want to just, make a little investment up to the Walmart on the Amazons and get something neutral for bedding. Even something as simple as that can make a difference. I know, you love your beautiful multicolored. Listen, I have bright, colorful bedding. We're not going to look at it right now. I have very bright, colorful bedding, but I appreciate that if it were coming down to selling my home, guess what everything would be? Beige and white. Beige and white. That's what we would be doing. So you got that. Number four. Just put it on the MLS. Investors will find it. Let's talk about cash offers. There was a tidal wave of an investor demand when that housing boom kind of first started. And that was because it was almost guaranteed that you could buy something for $100K, do some fix-its, maybe even very like cosmetic kind of fixes, and turn around and sell it for $350, $400, 2 weeks later. Guess what? Even with my investor clients, they're having to rethink some of their strategies because that's not the market anymore. In addition to that, I don't know how much you need to walk away with. And you should always be aware that a cash offer, and I'm someone who's pro cash offers. Like, I don't think cash offers are bad because there is no one size fits all way to sell your house. But that being said, cash offers are not going to be market offers, right? So they're less. So therefore, even because we're now dealing with pickier investors, you want to make sure that your listing doesn't look like dated, even for investors, and that people are just going to scroll by in a second. You really want to make sure that you're working with a realtor and you're posting professional pictures. And this is even for my first sale by owner people. You spend the $200, bro, and get professional pictures. You will thank yourself later. It's not the end of the world. And that little bit, because I know you got the iPhone 798 and the pictures, make people want to cry at their beauty. And oh my gosh, you pay somebody to take the pictures, please, please, please. I'm asking. As a human being who sees these things every day, looks at for sale and for rent by owner pictures all the time. Do it for me, guys. Do it for me. And then you also want to pitch the stuff that's unique or special, especially with we're talking about south of I-20, right? So there are a lot of beautiful 1950s craftsman style ranch homes that just need a little loving. But talk about that stuff. Get the professional pictures taken so you can highlight those architectural features that are sometimes almost impossible to get done today. You want to highlight what's good, because part of what I'm a South Atlanta girly is because I love that we're not super cookie cutter in this part of the city, but it also means that we have to think creatively. Like I cannot overemphasize how important that is. All right, now number 5, and this is a big one, especially today. We'll show whatever, and it'll sell when it sells. So we'll just let it sit there. So do you remember middle school? And do you remember rumors in middle school? And how literally all it was you woke up late and you just grabbed the first shirt that you could find, and maybe it wasn't ironed, or maybe it had a little stain on it, and maybe it was an embarrassing stain. Or worse, you had middle school spaghetti. Listen, we all had a hard life. You had middle school spaghetti at lunch, and some of it spilled on your pants. And then the rest of the day, there's some rumor about how you maybe had a little accident of the biological variety in your pants. Right? Okay. That is what happens when your house sits on the market for too long. Everybody's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. But that's what people are thinking. Because if it was that good, it would have already been sold. So as much as we have to balance it out with the realistic expectation that houses are no longer selling in 5 days, houses on the market in this part of the world, south of I-20 in Atlanta, we're definitely looking at more around 30, 45, maybe even 60 days, depending. Because the beauty of this area is, listen, you go 2 blocks, it's a different neighborhood. It's a different price point. If it's a different sales strategy. And so for that reason, you want to make sure that you are giving everything you can from day one, from the very first day that this listing goes live. I don't care if you're for sale by owner or if you're going with an agent. You have to make sure you've ticked all of these boxes, because today, in this 2026, these are the things that will make sure your house is not sold. So it is possible to sell your home south of I-20 beautifully. Definitely a doable thing. But what we have to think about is the approach. We have to be honest with ourselves about the truth. We have to honor the truth of what we're doing, right? So what that means is we either have to reduce the amount of perceived work. So that will come with prep, with the way we present, and of course, being transparent about what is going on with the house in the current state of affairs. The second thing we have to think about then is making the work feel like it's worth it. So being more aggressive with our pricing, maybe offering things like credits, thinking about the story we're telling about the property, both visually and in our marketing, and making sure that people see there's a clear upside for them, that there's a win, because you as a buyer want to win. They want to win too, right? Remember, you have to put yourself in your buyer's shoes. And then third, you can just remove all the work entirely, which is like a straight cash offer, which will probably be a little less than market, but you don't got to think about none of it. And or the option of like a bridge solution, of which there are a lot of low cost bridge solutions available today. And that, again, there's no one size fits all. So all these options vary, and it'll, determine by how fast you want to go, if how certain you need to be about the house being sold, um, where you need to go next. A lot of things matter. So this is really a conversation. So if you'd like to have a conversation with me, let me know what neighborhood you're in. Are you in Gresham Park? Are you in Lakewood? Are you in Cascade, West End, East Point, across the street, East Point? And let me know, are you clean but dated? Do you need repairs? And I can actually help you build out like a best path playbook that makes the most sense for you. So if you're interested in talking to me more about this, you can schedule an appointment with me. My Calendly link is down there. I look forward to talking to you. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time. Bye.